Okay, so I actually remember watching that episode when the show aired. I was like 15, I think, when that came out. And I think because now I'm watching the show, I can kind of articulate why this scene is so fucking icky and why I, as a former George fan and now George hater, I think I can understand why I thought, or why I was taught that George was right in this situation, which he isn't. Fuck this man. Except, like, don't fuck him. Like, ew, gross. So the scene with Meredith and George, like when that whole scene where she's crying in bed, it starts with George like confessing his feelings, like the incel greatest hits, whatever. And then Meredith, she initiates the scene and she makes it sexual. Okay, fine. And then in the middle of it, she's like, oh, I don't want to do this. Oh, God. Oh, fuck. And Meredith is so fucking traumatized and so fucking unparented and unnurtured in any way. She doesn't know how to assert herself in a situation like that. Like, she's just used to saying yes and just letting the dude take it where he's going to take it. And any sane man, when he sees Meredith crying in bed when he is literally inside of her, he's going to take a moment like to pause, or at least like disengage from her vajayjay to be like, oh my God, why are you crying? Like, is everything okay? Like, is it something that I did? Like we can talk about this. And Meredith, she's just like, no, it's fine. Like, she's people pleasing, all of that shit. And George, instead of having like a normal, sane human reaction, he's like, oh no, like you having sex with me is like, it's so bad, you're crying. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And okay, at that point, in the lens of 2005, 2006, that is not like a rapey situation. That is more of like just a murky sexual encounter that didn't end very well. Okay, fine. But what makes this moment truly unforgivable and makes George absolutely irredeemable is that he let Meredith take the full blame for the incident. Like, he's the one who knew, because we find out later, like as Denny is getting his LVAD wire cut and all that shit, we find out later that George actually knew that she wasn't really into him, and he just knew that Meredith was doing what Meredith does, and she is reciprocating the only way she knows how, by having sex with someone. He knows that this is what she does. He does it anyway. And then he has no empathy for when she realizes, oh shit, like I actually didn't want to do this. Like, he's not her friend. He was never her friend. I don't think he could ever be her friend in a situation like this. Like, yes, he did assault her. But in 2005, 2006, I don't think that we had the language for that kind of thing. And me, especially growing up in a very conservative family, very conservative subculture, I think the framing of the scene was like, oh, she should have just kept her knees closed. And all of that is unforgivable, absolutely unforgivable. But what makes it even worse is that afterwards, they keep it like away from their friends and all of that, but but George makes it look like the entire thing was Meredith's fault, and it really wasn't. And then like it essentially splits the group. Izzy immediately takes George's side, which, girly, what the fuck? Like, I love Izzy. She's becoming a little less likable in season 3. Like, she's doing some stuff that I'm like, I don't know. But, like, I'm chalking it up to she's grieving over Denny and she's crashing out a little bit. Okay, fine. But she did not have that excuse with George and Meredith when all that shit went down. She should have heard what Meredith had to say. But she was like, oh, no, George is my bestie. He has to be right. Like, no, fuck that. Compare that to Consent King Alex Karev, who actually needed Izzy to explicitly say yes before he ever touched her. He was on Meredith's side. He was like, no, like, okay, like, so you had sex with her, so it went badly. Why are you being such a kicked puppy about it? Like, this sucks, like, for both of you, but also, like, fucking man up and take responsibility. And I think if this show had been made, or at least that episode had been made in 2024 instead of 2005, I think Alex would have been like, yo, like, you're fucking weeping and crying over this shit. Meanwhile, like, she could drop some charges on you. Apologize to her. I mean, I hated George from, like, long before that scene, but that really just cemented everything for me. Just like, ugh, he sucks. Like, oh, he's so icky. And then the whole time that he's giving Meredith shit, and the whole time that he is essentially, like, condemning her, tarring and feathering her for the crime of not wanting his dick inside of her, he's toying with Callie, and Callie is an incredible person. She does not deserve this shit. And then every single time I'm just like, Callie, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Every single time she goes back to George, and it feels so contrived at this point. And I'm just like, girly, stop. Anyway, that's just more feelings about fucking George O'Malley. And I think it feels like such a betrayal to me, because I feel like when I was 15, I loved him. And I thought that he was super sweet and super devoted. But no, he's really, really icky. He's a fucking incel. Fuck this man. But except don't fuck him, because he's icky.